In the Headway hot seat today, we have Clare Rutter, who is a brain injury survivor and a Welsh paddleboarder extraordinaire. That's how I'm going to describe you, Clare. First of all, would you like to talk to us about your brain injury and because you were kind of living your dream at the time when it happened? Talk to us about that.
I was. Thank you for the paddleboarding extraordinaire. I'll take that one. That's great. Thanks. So what happened? Basically, I was living abroad at the time. What happened was I'd not long finished work. I decided to go and see a friend at her place of work very quickly. She was one of those people that hangs around outside of restaurants and invites you in for pizza and cocktails and that kind of thing. So what I did on my way home, I was walking home. I thought, right, I'm just going to go and see her very quickly. So I legged it into my apartment. I put my food from work on the sofa, my phone, and I literally took my key in my pocket. I was dressed in my work clothes, which at the time were like a black polo shirt and trousers, black trousers. So pretty smart. Might have looked like I was on a night out at the same time, but I was actually working. So yeah, so I went to see her. The deal normally was with her, if customers came along, I would just step back and let her do her thing. You know, that was always absolutely fine. So I basically I went to see her. I was feeling absolutely fine, you know, completely normal as normal is. Um, and I just went from feeling pretty much great to feeling very unwell very rapidly. Um, the way I've always described it to people who ask is I felt this hot lava wave coming up my body, up my torso and into my neck and into my head. And I knew I was going to pass out, but I thought I had time to get home. So basically, I kind of interrupted her customers just by saying, I've got to go. I'm not feeling well. She said, I don't know, I don't remember this bit obviously, but she said that I took 2 paces and then I just passed out and hit the pavement face first, basically. So yeah, it was a little bit random. I'm told that I was like in a convulsion, like a seizure state for 5 minutes. And then overall I was unconscious for about 30 minutes. So yeah, after that, it depends where you want to go with the questions, but yeah, I didn't have great success in the Spanish healthcare system, and yeah, at a time when I needed it the most, it wasn't there to support me, unfortunately.
So you made a really big move in coming back to Wales.
I did struggle on for about 8 or 9 months or so. I think the thing was, I think the thing was my brain had been affected, but I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. So over those 8 or 9 months, just little things were becoming apparent to me, like the way I was feeling anyway. I wasn't recovering from the concussion, but in a way I thought that was my new normal. That was my normal. So basically I was left with headaches and fatigue, migraines. I had the biggest goose egg on my head for months and months, bruising everywhere. But it was more the things like being back at work, doing the cash register at the end of the night, cashing up. I was having to do that cash up maybe 3 times to make sure I'd done it right. I was making mistakes. I was getting things wrong. I was saying the wrong things to people. Um, and one of the things that really did it, or I've really got to come home. There's something wrong here. Is that I used to be a chef. I was a trained chef. There was a time when I did that out in Gran Canaria as well. But when I was making my own food for myself at home, I it was tasteless to me, and I kept adding salt. And I was sort of raised like we never added salt to anything as a family when I was growing up. So and I just kept adding it, and it just dawned on me this isn't right. It's not the food, it's me. So just everything put together, I was like, I can't be here anymore. The healthcare I had out there, or the lack of healthcare I had out there, I was just sort of past pillar to post, you know, they basically said I was fine. Eventually, I was like, please help me. And they said, right, we'll forward you to neurology, but it will be all completely in Spanish. I was very, very good at Spanish at the time. But another thing, I discovered that my learning had been affected. I couldn't retain things as I had before. I thought I just got to come home. So yeah, that was my dream life that I dreamed of my whole life. It had to come to an end, unfortunately, but um, everything that's happened since, and even the time I got on the plane, I have no regrets. I definitely did the right thing.
So, what did they actually tell you in hospital had happened when you hit the floor?
Right, they didn't really tell me anything at all. It was very, very vague. You know, I didn't have the best of care when I was there. The ambulance guys thought I was a tourist out on the drink, because of the clothing that I was wearing, my work clothing. I had a CT scan the next morning. I don't actually remember that bit though. He said that I had a cyst in my brain, a cyst behind my nose, but they were perfectly normal. Lots of people have them. And I'd broken my nose just a little bit. Um, and that was it. That was as much healthcare as I got. When I did come back to the UK, it was completely different. It was a success story, really.
So you didn't know you had a brain injury, effectively.
I think by that time, when I was starting to plead for help, sort of, you know, several months later, I was, you know, I'd done quite a bit of research myself, and I was relating to so many symptoms that other people were saying. Like, I didn't even know back then that, you know, concussion didn't go away. I didn't know that that was a thing at all. So I learned all of that myself. But at the time, no. Um, I knew, you know, I've had a couple of, you know, I've had a few head injuries before. So I knew I'd made a mess of my face. I couldn't even look at my face throughout the night until the next day. Um, yeah, I knew I'd done something bad, but I had no idea of what was to come after it, you know?
So you say coming back to Wales was a success story, really, in finding out more about your condition. Why was that? What happened? What was the turning point?
Well, I re-registered with my local doctor. It took about 10 days for that appointment to come about. I had to wait a little while. But it was great. As soon as I saw this doctor in my local town, I was telling her my story of what had happened, you know, like I've just told you. And she was like, the whole time she was just looking at me in complete shock. And so basically she prescribed me anti-seizure medication straight away. She suggested some ways in which I could tackle the headaches and my fatigue that I was getting. Um, she referred me to everywhere, you know, completely. But it was also Headway as well. So Headway was one of the suggestions of where I might be able to sort of get some more information and maybe even help tackle what I was left with, the state that I was left in. I mean, at this point, I was so poorly. My average week was 4 days out of 7 in bed. I was just so ill. I was walking with a walking stick. It was just unreal, to be honest. So to come back and have all of that support suddenly thrown at me was phenomenal. But the main thing that really um, changed everything to the point I'm at now was her referral to the local brain injury team. So I had an occupational therapist who came to visit me in my home. I think it was for about 10 weeks, so once a week for about 10 weeks. And it was, I don't know, it was like a light had been shone on everything. She she confirmed what I was feeling, you know, and saying that this is likely happening to you. We can look at how your symptoms are affecting you, and then we can look at how we can go about making the most of my energy in the day and reducing impact of headaches and things like that. So basically we identified all those different things, and so together with her, I I was able to then identify these little triggers or these little signs that were appearing to me, like little flashes in my eyes. And, I knew that would be a thing of, I knew fatigue was coming. So it just helped me pace my energy a lot more, really.
And I guess that then, that unlocking and that kind of shining a light on changing the focus of what you can do and how to utilize that has then found, I guess, the second dream of your life, I suppose.
It has, but I've got to mention my local Headway though. Yeah, I found out the contact for them, and just wow. This was pre-lockdown, not long before lockdown, but pre-lockdown. And just meeting people who, not every injury is different, obviously, but meeting people who totally understood me and where I was coming from. You people, whatever illness or disability, you have people who would disbelieve you, but I felt like I had a new little family, which was great. And just so understanding. And Linda, the local coordinator, she was just so helpful, and that was just great. So I have to mention them. They're brilliant. Yeah, from that point then, the big thing in my life now is paddle sport. Now, going back all the way to my youth, I was raised on the coast in the country. The outdoors was very much a part of my life anyway. My mum was in, guides and brownies when she was younger, so she put me in. I was a little bit more of a tomboy though, so I did later join Scouts once they allowed girls in as well. So I always was out on the water, kayaking and canoeing and just messing about and getting muddy and all of that, that kind of thing. And it was the occupational therapist who actually suggested to me towards the end of my sort of rehabilitation treatment with her, to maybe take on some voluntary work. I was already back in Scouts, assisting as I had done before, and she was like, "Well, what else can you do? What else is there that you can do that would take your interest?" And I go, "Well, I know this guy with his own adventure company. Um, I knew it would be really, really hard, but I thought that's a great way to go." Someone said to me when I was younger, "Find something you like doing and then find someone to pay you for it." And I thought, well, that's a great line. Maybe there'll be potential there. Who knows? Scouts together at the same time in different groups, but only sort of 20 miles in between. So yeah, so I gave him, I sent him a message and said, "Oh, have you got 5 minutes at some point for a quick chat?" And he said, "Are you looking for work? We're looking for staff." And I was like, "Great, this is fab." So I explained everything. I went for an interview and everything. So it was a case of, yeah, I can go in voluntary. If I didn't feel great, I didn't have to go in. So it was all very much kind of like on my kind of terms. Um, it was so hard though, it was long, it was still long days when I was going in, but I was doing anything from like coasteering and surfing, archery, being on the river, doing a bit of white water. It was so sapping of me. Um, but I was loving it. And that enthusiasm that I had started really coming back. And yeah, it was just phenomenal. So how did it lead to where I am now? So basically, pre-lockdown, I had applied for a voluntary role with British Canoeing and Canoe Wales, um, which was basically called a She Paddles Ambassador. It was to get women and girls into paddle sports, because the numbers were quite low. It was less than 3 in 10 women and girls, were in paddle sports. So yeah, I'd applied for that voluntary role. That role came out pre-lockdown, and then we went into lockdown, and then I got a phone call basically saying, um, "You're successful. Would you like the role?" So it was an interesting role to get people outside and on the water when we were on stay-at-home orders. So that was quite interesting. But yeah, it was basically that. So my love that I developed from being young to work as a volunteer at this adventure company, rediscovering all of that love and that I could still do it, and that I did find it difficult, but I could find my own ways of doing it. Um, I could inject all of that into the She Paddles ambassador role. So anyway, later on, as we started getting back out into the open and things again, I felt that I could do more. Yes, I was still tired, but I knew that I was inspiring other people. I wasn't just impressing myself, as it were, and inspiring myself, but I was impressing other people as well. So yeah, so it ended up being that I became the She Paddles ambassador. I had a huge impact on Welsh paddle sport, on British paddle sports. And I finished that role, so that role lasted for about 16 months because they changed them. And yeah, I'm still out there paddling. I'm still out there. I get exhausted still, but obviously it's come on now about 5 years. And I know those triggers. I know how to deal with it. It does catch me out sometimes, obviously. Um, but yeah, I'm out there. I'm enthusiastic. I'm doing it. Uh, my mental health is better. My physical health is better. I can do it. I might not be able to do it as well as other people can, but I'm an instructor now. I'm a paid member of staff. I'm still out there in the media. I'm still out there inspiring people. And it's one more thing that confirms to me that coming back from Gran Canaria was not a mistake. It was the right thing to do.
So, as somebody who has come through so much, and really, I know it might be hard to hear, but it's so inspirational to hear where you've come from and how you've got to here. I mean, the She Paddles ambassador, what an incredible feat to have achieved. What is your recommendation to anybody who, brain injury hits you like a ton of bricks, literally, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
changes your life in an instant. What is your advice to help others who might be in that situation to cope and know there's life after brain injury?
I think the best thing I could say is, similar to what I have, speak with a professional. Um, try and understand your symptoms and your capabilities, and then do things like paddle sport, do things that are within your capability. Most sports, there's ways that you can adapt. I see myself as having, a battery of so long. If I pace myself, I can extend that battery for the day so much better. So I think, yeah, it's about knowing and thinking about what you can do rather than what you can't. I can't do whitewater kayaking. It's too much for me. I could probably kayak upriver in whitewater, probably about 5 minutes. I'd be wiped out for the day. But I can go gently down a river, and I can do that for several hours at a time and just have a nice, gentle, quiet, relaxing paddle. It works for me.
I'm so glad you found that, Claire, and thank you for talking to us and telling us your incredible journey to this point. And good
Thank
luck
you.
for the future.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.